6:15, I'll call the meeting to order. The Campus Reconfiguration Committee. Would the clerk do the formality of taking the roll?
Carol. Manning.
Here.
Glassburner.
Here.
Turk.
Here.
Frank. Williamson.
Here.
You have 4.
All right. We are in compliance with the open meetings law.
Yes, Mr. Chair, the meeting is properly noticed.
All right. We do not have online access. It was not set up for us, so we're just meeting in person tonight. Item 4 is approval of the agenda. We have a 16-point agenda before us. Do I have a motion to approve? Mr. Manning makes the motion.
Second?
Second by Williamson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And we were given copies of the minutes from April 9th, when last we met. Anybody have questions, clarifications, corrections on those minutes? Hearing none, I will declare those minutes to be approved. Anybody here for public comment? Yeah. Okay. Then we will move on to item 7, which is reports. First of all, being just a report on the status of the campus. I don't know, Tricia, I'm starting with me too.
Doesn't matter.
Not a lot has changed. Our broad efforts now are working on getting contents. We had the day for department heads to come out, I think 7 total walk through, and claimed a few items for their offices, but not a huge amount. We have been working with a couple of folks to do some assessment of specialized items out there. We've got that on the agenda in a little bit here to give some details on, so we'll talk about that. But otherwise, it's been a matter of dealing with contents and trying to figure out what is usable, what can we use as a county, and then looking at what could schools use, starting with the 2 schools that are within the boundaries of the county, and then talk with a couple of folks about, okay, can you reach out to the ones that border the county too and see if Richland can't use them, maybe other adjacent ones could. So there are musical instruments that we'll talk about. There's lab equipment and stuff like that in the science building. We'll talk about it in item C here. But so far it's been a lot of county staff getting file cabinets and tables and I don't know, a lot of chairs or anything, but various items like that they're able to
You
use.
get where you're down to the last straw and you need to get rid of a few chairs, our town hall could use a few. So, we'll trade you even up for a piano we're getting rid of.
We have several pianos
Pianos,
currently, so. No, it's, if you wanted to take some chairs, you'd have to take another piano, so.
Oh, well, I think we're good.
Yes.
The one we got going down to Boyle cleanup page.
But otherwise, our status of communication with you in Platteville about records that are still out there is they were interested in coming and getting the records, but not in helping us with any of the rest of the contents, so that's still the status. There are some records they will need to come and get, and we'll have to let them know when to come and do that. They're going to send folks up in vans, and there is one office that's crammed full of personnel records that needs to go, and then there are several drawers and boxes of student records that all have personal identifying information and stuff that we need to make sure that they handle properly. Right now, it's all locked up, so nobody has access to it.
How about the bridge, what's going on with that?
The bridge construction is underway. They've been driving pilings and stuff. Last I heard from Josh, the targeted completion date was like May 17th or 19th or something, so it's a prefab bridge. They're going to be hauling it in pretty soon. I don't think they have yet, have
I
they?
haven't seen it yet.
Okay, yeah.
No, they were, well, I drove by it last night, they were putting rebar down for the deck. So I think, didn't Josh tell us it was not a prefab?
Right, we were told it was not.
Yeah, that came
It's
up
not,
on the
okay.
They're pouring the, so they might have poured the deck
They
today.
got rebar there, it's not a prefab.
Right, so,
And that was, I think, a mistake that he had told us
Okay.
once.
gotcha.
I think early on, we were talking, it was
Thought
gonna
it'd
be
be a
a,
prefab, yeah.
Okay, so, but yeah, they're progressing rapidly. This was their first job of the season, so they want to get it done and move on to other projects. We haven't finished the paperwork for the grant yet. We're waiting to see what's going to happen with the property and know where we want to allocate. The one bridge we know, that's about $600,000-$700,000, and then we want to see what's left and what we want to allocate that to, depending on what uses we're contemplating for the property. I was out there yesterday. They got the lawn mowed. It looks pretty good. Picked up probably an entire truckload worth of sticks to accomplish it, I'm sure, but it is mowed out there, looking pretty good now. We're still working on the MOU with the school district to get them access to the gym. It's kind of been ping-ponging back and forth. It should be coming to the full county board in the May meeting. School board has had a chance to weigh in on the changes we asked for, and they've counter-proposed some things, and it looks like we should be able to move forward with it now if we get it to the full board for
Not
approval.
just like tell them, here it is, it's yours.
That would be another negotiation, so. Not to say that could never happen, but that would be another negotiation.
No
so.
such thing as never.
Yeah. Yeah, Derek, Trish, anything else on the property you want to share as far as updates? All right. Venture Architects updates.
When I connected with Corey earlier today, no new updates other than the proposal that we'll talk about later.
Okay. We're at kind of a crossroads with them, so we will probably be venturing into the more broader planning as the future agenda item here we'll talk about. So. And then item C is update on assessment of specialized items. Jeff Behrens from the high school walked through with me and gave us a listing of all the musical instruments that are out there. His assessment of them was that they all need work because they've been sitting for a while, but they're workable, they're usable. And so we've talked about the possibility of, okay, well, could the school district use them? Could Ithaca use them? Could, you know, and Jeff is working with some connections to see where we could get these instruments that they could be used for students who need to play an instrument.
Sounds like that one piano is of value that Mr.
Yes, the one piano of value, we talked with him about, he was gonna reach out to the district managers and see if, you know, maybe they could do some fundraising towards the restoration of it, whatever, so that it could, you know, be restored and be located in the high school auditorium as a proper grand concert piano. The other pianos in the building, based on the assessment we got from Mr. Lowe's information, are pretty well surplus, so I don't know if anybody's interested in those. There are a couple of electric pianos. Jeff checked them. One of them did work, one did not. He said the working one would be a good practice piano for students or something, so they might be interested in that. But you know, this list of instruments, there are there's a piccolo, a bassoon, some clarinets, saxophones, cymbals, timpani, chimes, a couple of tubas that are kind of rusty and in a closet. It's a shame, there's choir robes and stuff like that in a storage closet, they're moldy, so they're a loss. But he said all these instruments could be gone through, updated, you know, fresh pads if they need them, lubrication, cleaning out, but then would be usable by students. So he was gonna, again, work some contacts and see if he could find a path where we could, like, give those to the school and then they could make sure that people that can use them get them. I also met with Brandon Federley and went through the science building and a couple other buildings. It was a whirlwind education. You know, these are the notes I scribbled down as I was trying to follow along everything he was telling me. Because of the different roles he's had out there, he knew when a lot of things were bought and how much they cost, and he rummaged through a few things and pointed out certain items that definitely have significant value, but to a very limited audience, lab equipment and things like that. And so he was going to work with contacts that he had for school science departments and see, okay, is it feasible for us to say, all right, schools come in and clean this stuff out if you could use it. There are certain things out there. There are refrigerators from Specimens and some microwaves and stuff like that he said should not be used for food because they were used for specimens, so they're probably recycling appliances, I'm guessing. I think what else he told me. There are some other fixtures in the science building that could have some value, some projectors and TVs and things like that that might be workable. In the geology lab, that big plotting machine, that was actually donated by the foundation, so probably should reach out to them and see what they want to do with that. He's also, there are several pieces of art in the dean's office. He's going to do a little further research. He knew when some of them were donated. One of them was a gift from our sister city in China. And so working with him to find the connections to get those a place that would be appropriate for them to be not just surplused or auctioned or dumped in a dumpster or something like that, because they do have significance.
When it gets to like them appliances and stuff, if there's many of them, you get them in a pile, L&M won't come and get them for nothing.
Yeah, and it's, we'll see what happens with the property, if that's gonna be something we have to do, if there might be somebody interested in taking it on as is, we'll see, but yeah, we'll need to consider all those options. And there's gotta be a lot of metal out there that needs recycled. So, but yeah, it's, telescopes out there have value, microscopes out there, some of them are older, but they still work and they have value. And there are multiple closets full of just junk equipment that doesn't work anymore, so. Could be recycling, we'll see. So those are the specialized assessments we've done so far. Like I said, the general message is a lot of it is useful, but not all of it has a widespread audience. And it wouldn't be like, our original idea, like we thought we could bring in an auctioneer and stuff. It's pretty specialized stuff. It would, if you were gonna auction off a, like a digital balance for a lab, you'd have to go to some specialized route so somebody knew what they were looking at and would know the value of it. But if a school can use it, ooh, that's a win. Any questions on that stuff? All right, then we will move on to item 8, discussion and possible action, approval of a proposal from Venture Architects for additional county facility assessments.
So there was some discussion about doing a full assessment of Pine Valley, of Simons, and of the ambulance building. And so we did reach out to Venture. They did give us a quote of $31,000 to do those 3 buildings, and they said it would take about 10 weeks. So I wanted to bring this to you to see if this is something you guys would like to pass on to executive and finance, and then I'll leave it on for their approval.
Have we been getting ongoing bills from them, or when we hired them, has this kind of been all thrown together?
Yeah, the initial fees were paid, so they've done their scope of work so far for us, and they would just bill us and then extra for these other services, or as we continue to work with them for any space needs and that kind of, those things. So yes, there will be more bills coming, but we have paid them for the initial services they were hired.
We found the information they gave us about this building and HHS to be very helpful in the campus buildings. Highway Department had an evaluation done of their buildings, so they have a facility assessment already in hand. And we were thinking, well, if we're gonna make decisions about county facilities, we probably should have a good picture of everything we got as we think about those long-term decisions that we need to make. And so that's where it came from.
Do you feel like the Pine Valley one would really be that helpful? I mean, was there any changes you're thinking of?
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, so my nephew's out there, and so one item that happened last summer, very warm into August, they have very few roof vents in, so you know how the county was before all of us got on here. They went with the cheapest build. He said that building is, in my opinion, it needs to be assessed. We need to plan for CIP. We may be putting a new roof on there. He said that roof is already spongy. It's unbelievable.
Which building was that?
The whole new Pine Valley.
Oh, in Pine Valley.
Yeah. They have a heat detector up in the attic. Part of the reason it got so hot was there's no roof vents, so the heat couldn't get out.
So that building's what, less than 20 years old?
Oh, yeah, much less.
And it's already got a bad roof.
No, I don't know if it's bad. He said it's soft when he's walked on it.
There are other issues in the facility that have been identified where things are hitting end of life faster than what we might have anticipated. And I think there were some unrealistic expectations when some initial capital plans were developed. They were planning out for 35 or 40 years for roof replacement, which is way out.
No
roof lasts that long.
Any more word on the water tower or whatever we plan to do out there?
I haven't heard.
I think it's in they're working on it the last time you looked at. I mean, they're looking at assessments and options. 2 or 3 different opportunities or.
I think we just had divers out there, like 2 months ago.
That was at the Pine Valley meeting, they updated on
And
that.
I didn't know they did that. They'll have divers go out there to check the water and cracks.
Yeah,
or
go
whatever
into the
they do
reservoir
inside of
and
there.
look at it.
See, that-
Whatever they get paid in.
They did that when I was on the committee, and nobody can find the report.
Yep. why they didn't do it again.
So we had to do it again. Yeah, and that was,
That can't be cheap.
Well, I think it would be worth passing this on to hear some other thoughts on it.
yeah.
I don't know, 31,000, if that's considered inexpensive for the work that they'd be doing. If, I don't know how to judge that, but,
My thoughts would be compared to bringing in somebody from outside to start over from a process, because we're piggybacking on work they've already done with us. I'm guessing that gives us an advantage in that regard.
right.
Um,
But yeah, I would at least like finance and executive to talk about it.
Okay.
So you're not talking parts of the roofs are soft, you're talking about the entire roof?
Don't know. That's why you have an assessment. He had to walk up on there.
Do we have to vote on this?
Yeah.
Can we
Yeah.
just send it on?
Vote
All
on
right,
it.
I'll make a motion to send it to finance and
All right.
executive.
I'll second it.
Motion by Glassbrenner, second by Williams to move this on to executive finance. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Thank you. Item 9, discussion and possible action, review of space needs assessment and next steps.
So this was a request that was asked to be put on there. I think it's now time to start talking about what are we gonna do next. We know where things are at with the buildings, we have an idea of where things are at with the campus buildings, and we need to start talking about what are we gonna do about the jail, the space that's here. I'm starting to see more offices at the courthouse, and they're not pretty, so.
The longer you stay here, the more you
Yeah.
are.
We
More we
know,
all learn.
we know that our consultants had started kicking around some initial ideas of options and thinking maybe it's time to formally engage in discussions with them about, okay, so what could we look at? In broad terms, are we looking at, okay, property acquisition and building somewhere versus what could we do, in this vicinity here and maintain as much of our footprint as we could without having to acquire a ton of additional land? What are the possibilities? We don't know the answer to that right now, but they could help us in some broad terms figure out, I would hope.
Well, I would say we want to at least keep it on the, I don't know, did you have an action for it tonight?
I don't know that we need a specific action, we just wanted, because we haven't talked with the consultants directly for a while, so we should probably bring them back, I think.
Even if it's just, zoom
Yeah.
in, so
Who was
that,
gonna be on tonight?
yeah.
Since we're not online, yeah.
To me,
Well, I think we need to keep it on the, just keep it on the agenda, we can do.
I think the number one thing is gonna be how big a space we need. You think of the hospital, how much they bought out there. We're not gonna have the parking situation they'll have, but give us some idea, okay, you need a spot that's level for 5-6 acres or whatever.
Yep.
And we can kind of figure out what buildings have to go to make that work.
Yep. We already did some prioritizing on what our needs were. We identified the jail and court system as probably the two biggest needs.
Yeah, because we know we can't do it all,
You're
with our
right.
financial limits, we have to do it in stages.
Well, I'd sure hate to see us put more money in them buildings out there when we need the space. So I've always advocated that some of them buildings have to go to give us room and we don't have to keep maintaining it.
Mr. Chair, if I may, in your guys' folder, in the reference documents folder, the space needs analysis documents for the buildings that they briefly reviewed with us a few different times, those documents are in that reference folder, so if you're not sure, they're in there.
Yep, it'd be good to reacquaint ourselves with
Yep.
that before we have them here again. So we know where we're starting from. And then, if we do go ahead with the additional assessment, that can be extra data we feed into the decision-making process. All right, any other thoughts on that? We'll keep it on the agenda and we'll try to get connected with them so they're here with us next time. All right, very good. Then we are down to item 10, closed session. This would be a closed session as per the statutory citation there on the agenda to talk about the potential future uses of campus buildings.
I move we go into closed session.
Motion by Mr. Manning to move into closed session. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I saw Ingrid say it.
That's
So she
great.
seconded. Second by Glassbrenner. All those in favor of moving into closed session and including Trish and Derek, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Please show that it was a unanimous vote.
You can go.
All right, so we are back into open session. Item 12 on the agenda, possible action on items from closed session. We have nothing to act on. Item 13, discussion and possible action to set future meeting dates. Should we meet again in a couple weeks, 3 weeks? What do you think?
Oh, calendar, where's my calendar? Oops. Gary's got a big iPad calendar.
I do. And all that other township stuff, I do have a lot of.
You need 2 different colored pens then.
Yeah.
So we're April 30th.
Yep. We looked out 2 weeks, that would be May 14th. 3 weeks would be May 21st. If we stay on a Wednesday, which we don't have to do. What do you think?
On the 14th I can, that's the time of our town board meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go with 21, is that?
How first?
I have a hospital meeting that night. What time did we do this one at? 6? Might be done by then.
We could move to 6:30.
It's fine, we'll just make sure that they're coming, then I can just come
Well, I
in
know
late.
it.
All right.
You shouldn't have to call people, you know?
Well,
No,
I
I'm
was
not, I'm
at
not
fault
meaning
tonight.
you. I'm not meaning you. I was there with
well,
my
this is
kids.
the second one, I was so embarrassed, oh my gosh.
So we'll shoot for 6 PM then on Wednesday, May 21st.
5/21/25 at 6
You'll
PM.
have county board the night before, so everyone can get a reminder.
That's good.
So what time do you say?
6 PM.
6?
The way my brain's been working lately, not even that's gonna do it.
Item 14, any correspondence?
None of them.
We have none. Future agenda items. We wanted to make sure we have the architects on the agenda.
And then you also said item number 9, you want back on there, review a space needs assessment, next steps, right? Okay.
Update on our progress on the items,
Yep.
specialized items and such.
If you'd like me to, I can just leave 7A, B, and C on there as standing items until they're done.
That's probably not a bad idea. Any other things we want to, probably should put our proposal process on the agenda.
Finally, with some type of finalization.
All right. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Manning. Do I have a second from Mr. Williamson?
Sure.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.